I'm here with Jason Meeker, candidate for Austin City Council District 10. Thank you for being here, Jason.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell us why you should be elected District 10 and what you provide in terms of leadership for the environment specifically.
Sure. Thank you very much again for letting me come and visit with you. I'm running for City Council in District 10 because I have a track record of being active in city issues. I feel like I earned the voters' trust long before I asked them for their vote. I'm active in my community as the Neighborhood Association President, my HOA President. I'm also the Sector 1 representative for the Austin Neighborhoods Council. And so a lot of people also know me because I was one of the leaders of the fight against the Walmart Supercenter at North Cross Mall years ago. In addition to that, I also have City Hall experience. I worked as a zoning and plating commissioner at City Hall. I shouldn't say work, it's a volunteer job, but it sure feels like work. It's a lot of work. And so when I'm not spending time with my wife and son or managing my PR business, I'm working on city issues because that's what I'm passionate about. And so when this question came up about 10-1, I looked very hard at the race, made sure it was the right one for me, and decided to dive in. And one of the reasons why I think District 10 is the right district for me is definitely because of my position on the environment. As a zoning and planning commissioner, I frequently said no to developments that I thought would be bad for the environment in District 10, but also all over the city of Austin.
Right.
It was one of my things that I always made sure to talk to developers about and talk to residents about. I wanted to know about how trees were going to be impacted. I wanted to know if there were critical environmental features that were going to be impacted with the development. And I think that's one of the things that's crucial as we go forward as a city. We need to be very careful and make sure to uphold the values that have made Austin the special city that it is, and people recognize when they come here from other places. This has not happened by accident.
Right.
We have carefully built this city this way, and as we have a brand new council with a lot of people who will be new to city government, I think it's important to have someone who has passion and experience, and so that's why I'm in the race.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about building the city. How should we be building it? The land use and transportation planning is essential to our ability to both move around and sustain ourselves. How do you think we should be moving forward on that?
Well, I think we can use Imagine Austin as a tool. I think a lot of work needs to be done still to make sure a lot of people understand what Imagine Austin has in store for our city. I mean, it was ratified by our city council in 2012, but as we go around the district and campaign, a lot of people really don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
I mean, there just hasn't been, I think, the great outreach that still needs to happen to get people to really have the buy-in that we need with Imagine Austin.
What do you want them to know?
I want them to know that we have a growth concept map. We have a map that you can look at online anytime, and you can see where the concentrations of growth are going to be in the city. I also went and worked with Laura Morrison whenever it was being written, and I made sure that the map also showed the places where we were not going to have growth, where we're going to preserve park spaces, because that's important too.
Sure.
And once people look at that map and they understand it, then whenever we come to the voters in the future, and we can probably talk about transportation, and talk about a comprehensive map for transportation, you can look at the Imagine Austin map and see how a comprehensive plan for the city will match up with it very well. And so that's what I think is a very important thing that we've done at City Hall. We've laid the groundwork for that, and we need to make sure that people on a district level understand what's going to happen with Imagine Austin and growth in our city going forward.
Now, you are not supporting Prop 1, right?
Right.
What do you think we need to be doing instead?
Well, what I think is, and let me explain why I'm not for it. On the one hand, as a PR and marketing person, I think the question was rolled out poorly to the voters. The ballot language was still being finalized very recently. There should have been a much louder, active city discussion. And I understand that 10-1 conflicted with it. It was like they were both ill-timed. We were trying to get people to understand we were going to have a new form of government, much less a new transportation system. But I'm determined to work on this immediately, and I just described how the growth concept map for Imagine Austin could help us draw a comprehensive plan. My critique of what's described with the rail bond is it goes into a part of downtown where not a lot of people live and work right now. It's a developer's tool. I understand why that was drawn that way, but I think a better approach would be to show a comprehensive map and come to the voters and say, we're going to start here with line A, then line B, then line C, then line D, and make sure that we're fitting everyone's need sometime in the future so the city can invest in it. People say, we should have started at the Y in Oak Hill, or maybe at Mueller, or maybe out at the airport, and those are legitimate thoughts, but I think the greater thing is to have a plan that fits everyone's need. I also think that as we go forward, we should make sure to not just lock ourselves in on rail. It's 150-year-old technology. Right now in Great Britain, they are testing driverless cars on their roads. Cadillac has announced a driverless car. I mean, can you imagine having lanes that are dedicated to driverless cars? You can. It could happen within the next 10 years easily. Right. That is a big shift also that may be happening in our transportation grid. So while we're looking at how to link up the parts of our city, we need to make sure that that link isn't just rail, it may be something else that will fit the voters and the residents' needs of Austin.
Okay. Speaking of grids, let's talk about the electric grid. Where do you think we should be getting our energy and not getting our energy as we move forward?
I've enjoyed talking about this, and I've been disappointed that not all the candidates in my race have shown up to all the forums to talk about these issues, because this is vital. I think we need to increase our reliance on solar and wind. Even wave energy would be good. I have gone on record in saying that we need to draw down our reliance on coal. I think we need to very carefully look at taking down the Decker plant as it exists right now. It's a gas plant, but it's a dirty one. It needs to be a lot cleaner if we're going to keep using it. Maybe we need to retrofit it. There's also talk that maybe we need to totally take it offline, because Walter E. Long Lake may be a source of water for us in the future should we need that. I mean, that's for real. But I think going forward, we should end our reliance on the South Texas nuclear plant. I have that decision made in my mind because I think it's a moral question there.
Right.
I mean, I look at what happened with Fukushima in Japan, and that is just a disaster of amazing proportions. We could barely deal with the Deepwater Horizon well in the Gulf a few years ago. Can you imagine if we had a nuclear disaster on the Gulf Coast? And there's nothing to stop it, it seems. I mean, it just spirals out of control. So I think moving towards a solar and wind and even a wave technology structure would be better. And I realize there are cost implications with that. We have to tackle those very carefully, make sure that our city does not become more unaffordable while moving in that direction. Right. But I think also with retrofitting homes and buildings and having even higher standards for new buildings, we can have a better electrical system in our city and better utilize our power. Right.
Okay, let's shift to water. Water infrastructure, water planning, water conservation. What do you want to provide leadership on?
Well, I've already worked on this a little bit. I was against water treatment plant 4 because I thought the concentration should go to more conservation efforts and also improving our water infrastructure here in Austin. I wrote an editorial in the Business Journal, Austin Business Journal, a few years ago, and it complained that we have an infrastructure that loses 7 to 10 million gallons of water a day now in our infrastructure in the city. And so we were spending far too much on a water treatment plant that was going to pump 40 million more gallons into our system, when you're conceivably losing 10 million gallons of it in the system itself.
Yeah.
So improving that is essential. I also think we need to do more reclamation and reuse of our water. I think we have to just set new examples for people and how we need to have them attain a greater standard. In my neighborhood, where I'm an HOA president, we've tried to get people to understand that we need to decrease our reliance on water to make our lawns green. We need to change our lawns. St. Augustine grass is the wrong way to go.
Right.
We need to plant more drought-resistant plants. I envision something that really goes in more of the direction of how they do things in Arizona. I mean, I've read the National Climate Assessment. It is not a bright future for Austin when it comes to water, and so we should prepare for that now rather than wait until we're at a critical stage and make that transition now and provide the incentives to get people to make those changes if we need to do it. Water is a finite thing. I hear some people say that we have contracts with LCRA to have our water provided. Well, the contract doesn't create water.
Right.
I mean, it just says we can have the water if it's there.
Right.
So we need to make sure we're doing more with the water that we have.
Excellent. Well, there's many more things we could talk to you, but that was very helpful to talk with you.
Oh, good.
And thank you for being here.
I can't believe it went by so fast.
I know.
Thank you very much.